Hello guys, hello. Today we're gonna deal with hyperbolic function. So for now we're gonna look at this equation of hyperbolic function. As you can see, we are given y equals to a x plus p plus q. That's our general equation. So for now we're gonna explain this formula. So here, as you can see, we finally a x plus p plus q. A here it tells us about shape of this graph, and then p it tells us about x values in this graph. Q it also represents y values in this graph. So for now I'm gonna draw this shape and explain how a affect our graph. Okay, let me say we are given a as a negative value, so which means our graph for a negative sign, our graph we're gonna have top left and bottom right. Some of them know it as a third quadrant and a fourth quadrant, which is still correct. So if we are given a as a positive value, we're gonna have our graph on first quadrant and a third quadrant, which is top left and bottom, top right and bottom left. So for now we're gonna going to talk asymptote this shape, guys. Asymptote. Okay, asymptote, actually we're gonna look at our p value and a q value. Let me say they will tell you write down asymptote of this graph, which means you're gonna have minus p and q. Some of you might be confused about this minus sign. If literally, if you can see this, we have to simplify it. Let me say here we are given x plus p equals to 0. So now we are looking for x, which means our x will be minus p. That's why we are writing minus p as our x asymptote. I hope you get my point. So for y asymptote, you just write it as it is from equation. Okay, now we are going on intercept. Okay, and also when you're talking about asymptote, we're talking the lines which the graph doesn't touch or doesn't touch. So now we are going to intercept. Normally when we're talking about intercept, we're gonna look at x and y. Let me say for x intercept. For intercept, let me just write this equation down. X plus q. For x intercept, you're gonna let our y be 0. Okay, we're gonna say let y be 0, which means wherever we see y, we're gonna put 0 so that we can solve our x which we are looking for. We're gonna have 0 a x plus p plus q, and then we're gonna find our x, which means on x intercept our y value equals to 0, which means you're gonna have 0 as your y value. Okay, and for x you're gonna find it. So for y intercept, you're gonna let your x be 0. Okay, let me just write it again so that you can see what I'm talking about. Plus q, right? Y equals to a, wherever we see x we put 0. We're gonna have 0 plus q plus p plus q minus 8, and then our final answer as asymptote, we're gonna have 0 as our x, because as you can see we said 0 equals to x, and then here we're gonna that punch calculator and give you answer. And then now let's go to the axis of symmetry, lines which divides our graph or our function. Okay, axis of symmetry, guys. Axis of symmetry. Actually, axis of symmetry, we're gonna take it from, yeah guys, axis of symmetry, guys, literally we're gonna take it from our original equation. Don't forget that we have two axes of symmetry in this equation or in this function. We have left and right, which have negative gradient and a positive gradient. Okay, when we are looking for axis of symmetry, we're gonna focus on this part. Let me just use different markers so that you can see what I'm talking about. We're gonna look at this part. You see this portion, which means this a value, we don't need it actually, so we just throw it away. So we're gonna have y equals to x plus p plus q with positive gradient, and then this your equation now, x of symmetry with positive gradient. Okay, for negative gradient, we're gonna have y equals to plus q. Same thing, you just take this and equate to y, but now we are talking about negative gradient. We're gonna have x plus p plus q, which will affect our gradient here. Negative x, negative p plus q. There is our equation, yeah, x of symmetry. For now, we're gonna sketch graph. Okay guys, now we are going to sketch our hyperbolic function, which means we are given plus q. This is our equation. First of all, you must draw your axis, x and y. Okay, now as I've said on this other page, or our a represent our graph shape, and also p and q is our asymptote. We have x asymptote and y asymptote. You can write it as a negative p and q. If here you are given x minus p, which means here you're gonna have positive q, positive p. Don't be confused guys. Here if you're given x plus p, you're gonna have positive p. Don't be confused please. So for now, let me say here is a positive. Obviously we already know what our graph we're gonna have it, this portion, this quadrant and this quadrant, which is first and a third, and then also our asymptote. How about I just create an equation so that I can show you, because now I can sketch it using p and q. Let me just write 2x plus 1 minus 4. Okay, I hope you see it. Y equals to 2 over x plus 1 minus 4. First of all, I'm gonna sketch my y asymptote, which is negative 4. It's negative 4 here, and here we got positive 1, which means gonna be negative 1. This side negative 1, and then as you can see, it's a positive value, which means our quadrant we must be here and here. But first of all, draw your asymptote line. You're gonna have something like this nature. Okay, don't be confused guys, which means we're gonna have our graph cutting like this, and other will be like this. So please guys, don't be confused. This is how we draw our graph, and don't forget to label one coordinate. You must just choose any coordinate and label it. Okay guys, now we're gonna focus on domain and range. As I've said here, this is how we sketch our graph. So domain and range, actual domain, we're gonna look at our value of p. Domain, actually we're looking for values of x, which our graph doesn't touch. So okay, don't forget that x is element of real numbers, but x must not touch our p value. For range, we're gonna focus on y-axis. Well, okay, let me just write it here. For example, using this equation, we're gonna have x element of the numbers, but x must not touch -1, which means, as you can see here, guys, our x doesn't touch this line. Our x, you see, doesn't touch this line, and this line, it doesn't touch. So for y, we're gonna have y is element of real numbers, but y must not touch -4, because here we're given -4. Yeah, now let's go focus on shifting, guys. To shift graph, okay, on shifting, guys, you're gonna focus on P and Q also. P, we're talking about left and right, yeah? Up and down, left and right shifting, okay? So let me say, let's just use this equation. Let me say they add 2 units up, which means you must go there and add 2. So you're gonna have +6. As you can see, there's some changes here. So which means our graph is low got 2. That's why more 6. And then for x, yeah, x is a challenges in yana, but we can try we explain, guys. 2x + 1 + 6. Let me just write it mathematically, guys, for you to understand. +1 + 6. Okay, let me say worry 5 units left. Okay, 5 units left. That equation are iloba. 5 units left. Roti like a positive, right? Roti like a negative. So there are 5 units left or plus. 5 units left. 2x plus 5 plus 1, because more than x will be x plus 5, x plus 5, x plus 5 plus 6. Therefore, probably x plus 5, x plus 5 plus 1, which is probably 2 x plus 6 plus 6. So when our new asymptote that we're like you will change. For now, yeah, I think I'm done. Shifting. Other what transformations, guys? Transformations. Okay, guys. Transformations will focus on y-axis and x-axis. Okay. Let me say why the graph how it reflects the whole x-axis, which means your y value even negative. So every graph how it reflects the own y-axis, x value is how even negative. In our one account. I get to now gore ke no le jore ka example nyane 1 gore ba raywa. Okay, guys, ke equation e ke tleng ka yona da go tlo tlhalosetsa gore that ye re tsamaya jwang. So guys, let me say bare your equation it reflects that to the y-axis. If they say y-axis, which means you're gonna have our x value as negative, you're gonna have